Welcome to NoobAquatics. This is Matthew Stigman. Thanks for coming back again. Today we're going to talk about preparing botanicals for your aquarium. So if you're going to be making Blackwater aquariums, or you just want to add them in there for the benefits that they add, such as antibacterial, antifungal, this is what we do here at NoobAquatics. Alright, so we are back in our kitchen. We got dishes to do, of course. What we do here is I have a pan specially, bought. So this right here I bought specifically for preparing, botanicals. So almond leaves, alder cones, anything else like that, mangrove leaves, anything that we currently have. This is what I have here to prepare. So what I use pure RODI water, which is a TDS of 0. All right, so that's what I use. I use pure RODI water, and I use that for a reason. I need to replace my water that's in the fridge. So this is what I use here. All right. And these are the leaves that I have. So I have them in an air freezer bag. So these are freezer bags that are not technically airtight. They kind of let, some of the moisture in and out, mainly because of being used for freezer bags. But right here I have a giant bag of almond leaves. All right. These right here are Magnolia leaves. Okay. And then if you need to lower your pH or anything like that, I have alder cones. All right, so that's what I have here, and I have them all in their own respective bags. Okay. All right, so let's get these out of the bags here real quick. All right, so we have our stuff ready to go. Now this right here is the setup. This is what I'm going to put in a 20-gallon long. It's going to be 5 mini alder cones, 2 magnolia leaves, and you'll see right on their edge, this is the reason why we're going to do what we do. It's a little dirty. Okay. And we have 3 almond leaves. All right. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and start the pot of water to get it to boil. All right. So we got that in there ready to go. Next step is to rinse everything off. So alright, so we got the magnolia leaves rinsed off. Next is to do the next 3. So now we need to rinse off the alder cones and the almond leaves and then prepare those. So I'm going to rinse off the alder cones first. Now one thing about our leaves and alder cones is they come from an organic source, so there's no chemicals, no pesticides, nothing like that. But it doesn't say that they are, heat treated or anything like that. And I know they are because I've messaged them, but for like external bugs and stuff like that. But just to ensure, that's why we follow this technique. Now the next step here, how we prepare them, you don't need to follow me. Alright, the next step here is a step that a lot of people don't normally do. Now, with tannins or with these botanicals, a lot of people will throw them into the tank, and then at the end, whenever they've deteriorated, they will pull out the spine. Okay? I go a step further. I don't even want to pull it out. I just want it to deteriorate and go into the substrate. So what I do is I actually cut the spine off prior to putting them into my tank. Alright, so the spine does not go into the tanks at all, and when they deteriorate all the way down, and I don't have to worry about removing the spines. All I got to do is just keep adding them, and the deteriorated parts will go into the substrate, and because I have planted tanks, these leaves will eventually turn into plant food, and that's the goal. This is simulating what happens in the natural environment where leaves drop down into the water, break down, and become food for the stuff in the substrate, as well as, crustaceans and stuff like that, so shrimp. And of course it makes your water look like tea. That's another benefit. Like I said, a lot of people just throw them in there with the spines. Not me, I want them to deteriorate all the way down. Same thing with the magnolia leaves. I cut their spines off too. The Magnolia leaves are slightly different because the spine becomes weaker near the top. So I cut through the spine there. And the Magnolia leaf kind of stays together like that. And at least that's what I try to do. It doesn't always work out. Sometimes it breaks. So. These alder cones, they have these little stems. All right. I like to cut those stems off as well. Okay, so I got those off. Now the next step is pretty simple. I'm going to take these and the leaves. I drop in my alder cones first because I want them on bottom. Right. Drop in the Magnolia leaves, and I guess it really doesn't matter what order. So, and then these, to make sure that they are separated, I actually have to split these up because they'll stick to each other. And then I just take the spines and throw them away. I don't use these spines at all. Now, the reason why I use RODI water, I'll show you why. Alright, so I make my own tannin water. Okay? This tannin water is now 3 months old. And because of that, I need to replace it. So, I have to dump this tannin water out because it's old. I'm going to rinse this out. Take my tape off, put this here, and I'll show you how I make my tannin water. Alright, so I made this right here. This is a PVC pipe, a couple link or something, coupling, I don't remember what it's called. But basically what it does is it connects a 2-inch PVC pipe to a 4-inch PVC pipe. Now what I did here is I cut some sponges. In the bottom I got a very fine sponge. Right here, you'll see, I cut that to fill the hole, and in the top I have a coarse sponge. Alright, I'm going to put this over top of there. Now the reason is that while I'm boiling this, I'm going to boil these leaves for anywhere between 5 to 10 minutes. If you put the leaves in there when the water is already boiling, it only takes 5 minutes. You just need to make sure that you are pushing the leaves down with something. I'll use a fork, or actually I'll use one of these. You just take the leaves and you push them down and make sure they're all the way underneath the water. You see my leaves are in there, they're boiling. Oh yeah. Alright, they'll boil for 5 to 10 minutes. Okay. When they are done boiling for 5 to 10 minutes, this water that's in here will actually have a lot of tannins in it. Sometimes I'll let it go even further. Okay. Sometimes when I make my tannin water, I'll throw these in there and I'll let it boil for a very long time and make the water extremely dark. And it'll come out looking like this. Alright? This is how dark it'll be. This is tannin water that you can just pour directly into your tank, depending on what it is. This right here, half of this from here to here would be for a 20-gallon tank. And that's not to make the water brown. That's just to get the benefits of, you know, the antimicrobial, bacterial, antifungal parts of the tannin water. That's what that's for. That's just for tanks that you don't want to make a Blackwater tank, nothing like that. That's just strictly just to get the benefits. Alrighty, we'll come back when that's done boiling and I'll show you how I filter out my tannin water and explain why. Alright, so they are done boiling in here, so the next step is to get them out and let them cool for a little bit because you don't want to put them in there super hot, but I'm going to show you how I make my tannin water. Alrighty. So we got the majority of those out of there. Now, this water has cooled a little bit. It's not bubbly boiling, as you noticed. I put my fingers up in the water, but this is how I make my tannin water. So I will actually put in a ton more leaves than that, so that I can make extremely dark, but it's still the same process that you'd want to follow. Now, the reason why I use this filter is because as you boil that water, it drops a lot of stuff into the water that you don't want, so a lot of nastiness. So you want to remove that. So this right here, that's hot. This right here is used to filter out all that stuff. Alright, so now this one's ready here. And while the water is still hot, you're going to put the lid, the pop lid, on there. So, and just like when you can, whenever you can something, all right, that canning, whenever you get it really hot, it pulls in the lid. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to let it sit here for a few minutes. All right, and then I'm going to put it directly in the fridge. All right, so I'm going to let that sit here for a few minutes. Not very long, probably just 2. That way I can get the rest done. But I'm going to pour the rest in here, filter this out. This right here, I'm going to put directly into the 20-gallon tank. All right, I'm going to let that sit, and as you can see, there's still some water in there that needs to come out, so I'm going to let that sit. But yeah, so that's how we prepare our botanicals and we prepare our tannin water. So let's check the temp. It's good. Now we got to go put it in the tank. So let's go put it in the tank with the new betas. Alright, so we have those in the tank. Some of them are still floating, but they will find a place in the tank eventually. Alright, and then the last thing, you need to label your tannin water, because it's good for 3 months in the fridge only. Alright, and then I'll rinse this out. This right here, like I said, will go into the tank that it came out of, because that's now purified, well, I said purified, but filtered tannin water. Alright, so that's how we take care of our botanicals here at NoobAquatics. That's what we do to them before we add them into our aquariums, and how we make our tannin water that's good for 3 months in the fridge. Alright, well, if this helped you out, or if you enjoyed the video, make sure you subscribe and like, and thanks again for coming to NoobAquatics. You have a wonderful day.